Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Weishuhn. If you enjoy real-world hunting and fishing talk, you're really going to enjoy listening to my good friend, Luke Clayton, and his guest for the next hour.
This is David Fox, and welcome to Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Luke has been a recognized outdoors writer for the past 3 decades and writes for a host of outdoor publications. Luke pens a weekly newspaper outdoors column that appears in over 40 Texas newspapers. Luke is on the pro staff of Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything air gun related. Smokin Tex electric smokers and AGM Global Vision, maker of an awesome line of thermal hunting scopes and spotters. Feel free to contact Luke through his website, catfishradio.org. Now let's join Luke and his guests for this week's show.
Well, thank you, friends. You know, recently, Mr. Weishuhn, Jeff Rice, Paul Moore, the whole crew, we all went up to Montague County and visited with my longtime friend, Don Gresham, up there, and we're going to be hunting up there some. But Larry's going to kind of kick things off and say good morning to everybody. Then we're going to dwell on that subject. Larry and I are going to take you with us through the radio on a fun time that we had up in Montague County. Larry, thank you for being with us.
Oh, my gosh, Luke, thank you. And what a great time. But we need to thank DSC, Conservation Education Hunter Advocacy, one of our long time sponsors. Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable. Going to put that Hornady to really good use on that property you were just talking about.
You bet.
Of course, Mossberg, who makes their rifles and shotguns here in Texas. Stealth Vision will be using those scopes and their binos and probably even their rangefinders on that property as well too. And Taurus, there's going to be an opportunity to probably shoot a hog or two. So
yep.
I'm going to be carrying my Taurus handguns, my Raging Hunter handguns, and then VINEYARDMAX. You know, you mentioned Paul Moore just a little while ago, and Paul graciously came out and brought 2 of their VINEYARDMAX feeders and some of their VINEYARDMAX deer attractant. And I'm going to let you kind of take it from there because you're the one kind of found this property through your old friend, which absolutely is working out. It couldn't be any better as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, we had a good time. Yeah, and I guess I'll set the stage. Don Gresham, a lot of people listening that attends outdoor hunting shows and fishing shows in the past years, the name Going Fencing will ring a bell with you. Don Gresham and his son, his family, they've been very visible in past years with Going Fencing. They were really, if not the first, Don was one of the first to come out with hog traps that were, you know, cell phone activated, where you could trigger them from your cell phone. Now, I remember cutting edge talking to Don, and I knew absolutely nothing about that new technology, and he's not really doing that anymore. There's a lot of companies that do, but that's how I got to know Don Gresham there, Larry, and back then, I'm talking about 15 years ago maybe. You know, he said, well, come on out and hunt, Luke. I've got our family land up in Montague County near Forestburg, several thousand acres. It's been in the family since 1850. And he said, come on up, and we got some big old deer up there. One of those things, I just never made it. But we made it up there, folks. Larry and I and Jeff Rice. Jeff is with us. And Paul Moore with VINEYARDMAX, of course. He was there with us, and we spent the day, most of the day on a Saturday, with Don Gresham. And Larry, that land, that ranch, it just reeks of old. I mean, you can almost feel the settlers' spirit still there. I mean, the oldest dwelling is a rock house that's still on that property, on that ranch. And it was built by Don's, I think he said great, maybe 3 greats, I don't know. Way back there, one of his grandfathers, Larry, you know?
You're right. And that area all in through there, of course, at one time had huge buffalo herds that roamed all through that area. And back at the time when they got there, the Comanches were still there. Quanah Parker was just about to come on and all that kind of thing. And I tell you what, from a historical aspect, now there, the big pasture that we're hunting, that we're going to get to hunt, there is a deep draw that runs right through the center of that thing that kind of forms a really good travel way. And so Don, of course, is very serious hunter as himself and very knowledgeable hunter, had set up some deer blinds there in the past, and even some feeders, but he kind of, like he kind of said, he said for about the last 3 or 4 years, he said really had a chance to hunt right there, and so he very graciously invited us to come up and set up some feeders. And going in there, you're right, that country reeks of history. It reeks of game. There were deer tracks all over the place, and of course some of the bucks that Don's taken in the past and the shed antlers that he's found here more recently, there's some pretty darn nice deer up there.
Yes, sir. And then Larry, we went in his house, in his den there in his home, and yeah, I mean, he had some deer mounted, some mounts that were quite impressive. So you and
Absolutely.
I both are a lot alike on the deer. We just who doesn't like to shoot a high scoring buck? We all do, but I'm quite happy to get a mature buck, and I know I showed you'd brought me the antlers off of a buck that I got on your lease out in West Texas, and it was, I think you told me you aged it to be 4 or 5 years old. Well, it was a little basket rack, but it was what was called a management buck out there. I showed that to Don. I got a laugh at it. He said, "We don't shoot any like that here." I said, "Don, Larry judged this one to be 4.5, probably 5.5 years old." Oh, okay, a management buck. And I was kidding him. I said, "Don," I looked in the back. You'd put the antlers in the back of my pickup. I said, "Let me show you a trophy I shot last year." Kind of serious, He thought, no, this is not a trophy here. But the places that and Paul Moore with VINEYARDMAX and his son Colin, they came out and they brought from Nacogdoches. They were looking at some other property up in Nakona to lease later in that afternoon. So, but they brought these 2 VINEYARDMAX feeders up. And we got those things set up, not feeding a lot of corn right now, and maybe just a little bit twice a day. That's all I think right now. Is so much food. Everything's greening up and browse everywhere, Larry, but just to have those out and let the deer know where they are, I think that is good right there and good for anybody's lease, don't you think? Just kind of a little bit, just if it's a new feeder or something, they know that by fall they'll be well patterned,
You know what, they will be, and just putting out a little bit of feed. Of course, what we did too is we mixed a bag of VINEYARDMAX, the deer attracted in, just kind of pour a little bit in, pour corn in, a little bit more so. And even, up in that country, they do have quite a few grapes, so they totally understand, what grapes are kind of thing to begin with. So I got a feeling that's going to work really, really well. Now, when we set up the feeders, one of the things we wanted to do, and something I've hunted on places where people had great deer stands, great feeders, and guess what? They were either set to the direct kind of east or west of where the blinds are. And then when you do that, you can hunt them either in the morning or in the afternoon, because you either have the sun directly in your eyes early in the morning when it comes up, if it's to the east of you, and the sun's going to be in your eyes to the west if you set it up to the west of you. So one of the things that we did is we found spots to set up these feeders so that they would be basically to the south of us, kind of in a southerly direction. That way you can hunt it, morning and afternoon both, and not have to worry about the sun getting in your eyes. And then the other thing that we did is where we set up those feeders is there's a fair amount of brush, or that kind of where deer can feel very comfortable coming to those feeders, where they didn't have to go across a huge wide open area. Now, with does and young bucks, that's usually not a big deal. But when you're hunting mature bucks, such as you like to do and I like to do, the bucks are a little bit more wary in the fact that, they may not want to cross a big wide open to get to a feeder. So the way these feeders are set up now, we can hunt them morning and afternoon, regardless. Also, in terms of how the wind was blowing, we took that in consideration, knowing that the primary winds are probably out of the southeast there and out of the north kind. So we kind of moved it, where that wind wasn't going to be blowing directly to the feeder kind of thing at any one time when we're hunting. So all these things you have to kind of take into consideration when you put up those feeders. And we did that. So I'm really anxious to start seeing, once these deer start coming in, and I got a feeling these deer do know what corn is. They will very quickly discover what VINEYARDMAX is. I got a feeling that was not but a few days ago. I got a feeling we got deer coming in those feeders already.
I bet you. I bet so, because we placed them on. One term that's become a punch word in the last few years is pinch points, but maybe not the definition of a pinch point, but areas where there's a wooded strip, and then it plays out maybe a little point of woods, and then there'll be a little opening, and then there'll be another start with cedar trees, and then it'll branch on back into some more woods. But those are just natural travel corridors. It's
exactly
the closest distance between 2 points of cover. And every one of those places, I got out and looked around, and there's trails leading. You can just about determine where those deer are going to move, or their travel routes, by just looking at the terrain sometime. Another thing, Larry, that deep canyon, and this will help people when they're scouting their land, but that canyon is deep. I mean, so deep that I don't know. It looked like the edge of that cliff would be pretty steep to try to get down right where we were at. But
yeah, I'm hoping we don't shoot one that goes down into the canyon.
We'll go back down to the road and walk down the bottom of the canyon. That's what old Luke will do. I'll have to.
Me too.
I can't scale that side, but just the fact that that canyon is so deep. Well, I really think that deer are kind of like us. I mean, if they were down in the bottom of that canyon, they're not going to scale that wall to come up. Want to come up to the high ground. There's going to be places where there's travel routes, where there's a wash, maybe where a creek comes in or something that'll wash out a way for them to gain elevation. In other words, where they don't have to go up that steep. And we saw one of those places too. So that would be there was no stand there, and the deer will wind up coming where we want them anyway, I would assume. But places like that, things to think about when you're scouting,
It really is. It pays. Of course, these days we've got such fancy maps and all that kind of thing available compared to what we had before, and two, with people having drones these days, my gosh, I'll tell you what, you can use that drone ideally to set up or to determine where you want to set up. Because there you can look down and see the trails from the top, and you can see how the terrain lays and how where the vegetation is and all that kind of thing. So if you have a drone this time of the year, not a bad time to take it out there on where you're going to hunt and really have a close look as to what's available in terms of that terrain and that habitat as to where you might want to set up a little bit later on. And where we're doing too is we got two setups. One of them is going to be at a traditional raised blind. The other one, we're going to use a little pop-up type of thing, because there's a blind there now, but it's been there for a long time, and it probably needs a lot of work. We're not too sure about the floor, and so you got to also take that safety aspect into it. But Don, obviously, having hunted that property for a long time, and his family there's a reason those deer stands were where they are. They weren't just we're going to put one there without any forethought or anything going into it. So, take advantage of that. Almost look like it almost use it like intel from past deer habitat and deer habits. And I love hunting where there's no blind, because it tells me, there've been deer traveling there for a long time.
You bet. Larry, they're telling me we need to take a break. Here's what I want to do things a little differently today. I've got a couple of guys calling in. We're going to talk some fishing in the middle of our show, but I want you to hang tight. And at the end of the show, I'm not through visiting yet. We need to talk to our friends a little bit more. Let's come back in a bit, and let's you and I carry on with this. I've got some more things that I'd like to bring out. How about that, folks? I want to introduce you to VINEYARDMAX. Now, this is an awesome deer attractant, a food attractant that's made with hammer-milled grape skin, dried hammer-milled grape skins. It has a mixture of rice bran and also corn chops. Very effective. Deer can smell the scent of grapes from a long way, and it brings them in. I've used it in West Texas out with Larry Weishuhn, and we were out there where deer are not even exposed to grapes, and they came right in. Also, VINEYARDMAX has a very good line of game and fish feeders. Check them out online, vineyardmax.net. Friends, I want to tell you about an awesome camping destination, Wind Point Park on Lake Tawakoni. It's over on the far east side, kind of the northeast side of the lake. It's a pristine park. You can go there and view, I think they estimated a couple of hundred deer on that couple of hundred acres there. Cabins, beautiful RV park, fishing piers, docks. It's got everything you'd want in an outdoor destination. Check them out online at windpointparktx.com. Well, friends, Mr. Larry Weishuhn is going to tell you about the finest hunting optics that we have ever found.
Luke, these are called Stealth Vision. They come from Crockett, Texas. Dr. John McCall developed them. They're 34 millimeter tubes as opposed to the narrower tubes, so more light transmission. They have a little green light that comes on. That scope is level because that's when you want to pull the trigger. They have an optional lighted reticle as well too, and a whole lot of other products. And folks can learn more about them by going to stealthvision.com.
Folks, this segment is made possible by Smokin Tex electric smokers that I've been using a long, long time, CatfishPro, catfishing baits and catfish supplies, Ultrimatic Feeders, and AGM Global Vision, maker of the spotters and thermal scopes that I hunt with. Well, friends, it is now time to talk a little fishing. You know, the white bass run, I get as excited as anybody about it. Usually, like late February, I start watching creeks, and well, this year was a little bit lackluster for old Luke. I didn't catch a lot of them in the creeks and all this year, but we're approaching one of the best times in the world to catch sand bass, white bass. Mr. Omar Cotter, my friend with Luck of the Irish Guide Service, he's been guiding for a long, long time. Omar is an expert on catching these white bass, and I thought it would be fun to get him with us and pick his brain. Omar, thank you, sir, for being with us.
You're welcome. You know, I heard a lot of people, it was either really good or it was really tough in the creeks this year.
Yeah.
I guess it just depended on how much rain they got and how much flow they had, because the flow makes all the difference in the world. The more flow you have, the more fish are going to go upstream, and the more fish are going to spawn. If you don't have a lot of flow, then they're going to find a windy point somewhere, which this time of year you don't want to be on a windy point
right.
trying to catch fish,
right.
Unless you got a really good anchor, a really good trolling motor, because if you're not real careful, you'll wind up on that bank, and you don't want to do that.
I know, Omar.
That's not good for equipment or people.
I know it. Well, do this for us, all the folks listening. You know, the shad hatch or spawn, they move up shallow in soon. Of course, we're into April now, but when that happens, I had Bill Dance with me one time talking about the why the shad. You know, you think, well, fish the windy banks because the wind blows the shad up in there. Bill says, no, that's not true, Luke. He said, here's what happens. The zooplankton's up there in all the vegetation. The shad are up in there at night. And they're laying their eggs, doing what they're doing, and they're feeding on that zooplankton that's blown up. Now, that was news to me. But anyway, regardless of why they're there, the shad are, like early mornings, you know, they can be stacked up on those windy banks. And not only sand bass, but everything's in there feeding, aren't they? Catfish and everything.
They are, yeah. Everything. I mean, I've sat there and been catching sand bass and some hybrids, and next thing you know, you got a 23-pound flathead on.
Yeah.
You really just don't know, because I kind of like to liken it to the mullet run in saltwater. Mm-hmm. Everything is in there feeding on the bait fish that are spawning and doing their thing and feeding. And, you know, if you can get out there, I like to throw. A lot of people like to throw rattle traps and stuff like that. I don't, just because of the extra hooks and having customers on the boat. Right. I'd rather throw a swim bait between 3 and 4 inches, somewhere around there, because you've only got one hook to have to worry about when you get the fish in. Because, I mean, you and I both have seen somebody, you got a nice fish hooked on a treble hook on a rattle trap, and that other hook comes around and gets somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be really, really careful with that. I'm just warning folks. But the swim bait, it doesn't get hung as much either, especially if you get one of those snagless jig heads and put on there.
Mm-hmm.
You put that really helps a lot. But we catch a lot of fish up shallow this time of year throwing those without any issues.
Yes, sir.
And it works really, really well. And then as the sun gets up, I've noted anywhere there's a creek channel that comes back off of a big flat or say a cove or anything like that, those shad move into that channel.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get out there with jigging spoons or whatever, and as the shad are coming out with the stripers, hybrid, sand bass, white bass, everything's waiting for them to come away from the bank once that sun gets up, and they're waiting in ambush points. And I've said it before, and it's really true. A predator is a predator is a predator. It doesn't matter if it's got fins or fur. It's a predator, and anything that it can do to help eliminate the escape routes of its prey, it's going to do that.
Yep. We think of fish as just being underwater, what they do, what they do. But the truth is, just like right now, instinctively coyotes know what's about to happen in another few weeks. The fawns are going to be born. There's going to be rabbits, food's coming out. They know that. I don't know if they're trained by their parents, or if I think they instinctively probably know this kind of thing. So fish are no different, are they? They have to.
No, they exactly. They know what's going to happen. I don't know if mentally they understand it, but I know God instinctually put those thoughts. Put that process in to keep rabbits down and population down and shad populations down, and I mean it's all a balance, and it's a perfectly balanced creation. So. You just have to understand that and make the most of it as a two-legged predator,
Exactly. Right. I'm with you.
That's how that works. And right now we're actually catching a lot of fish that have already spawned out, and we're catching some nice big females,
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that big belly now, so they spawned out, and they're just they're a lot of fun to catch. We're just catching them left. Oh yeah, delicious to eat. The trick to that is I've learned I hold my knife about 1/8 of an inch up off the skin, and I leave all that a big part of that red meat right there on the skin.
You bet.
And you get rid of that. And we've had a lady tell one of my friends that he was frying crappie, not white bass. He's like, no, that's white bass.
Yeah,
He's
right.
like, oh, it tastes too good. Well. It's like anything else, any game, you prepare it correctly, it's going to have a different flavor.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this could be almost sacrilegious to say it, but people talk about, I love crappie. Well, who wouldn't eat crappie? I mean, people that don't eat fish will eat crappie because they're a neutral flavored fish. Now, this is a fact. I prefer, and this is the truth, I prefer trimmed white bass fillets, or they are, to me, they're as good as it gets. I mean, they're one of the best. Or yellow bass is equal with that, except the yellow bass have very few.
I get a 9+ inch yellow bass. He ain't going nowhere but in the box.
I've asked people in the past about yellow bass, and there used to be some people that guided strictly for yellow bass. I knew some guy.
Wow.
Yes, there was a guy years ago, Greg Gates. I never will forget Greg. He that's what in the winter he targeted them. But I would love to just go and target yellow bass. But what I'm getting at is the trimmed white bass fillets. And the way I'm no expert cook, but I know how to fry fish.
Yes, sir.
I put some Louisiana hot sauce on those fillets, and that I don't know. I put that on all the fillets as a base, for the cornmeal and all that. But I prefer that over just about anything, a trimmed one. Now I do not want to eat a white bass fillet. I don't like that strong taste of the bloodline or the red meat.
Right.
Who does? Some people I've known actually go for that, but not me.
Right.
I want them trimmed.
My wife enjoys it a lot, actually.
There are people, yes. I mean, that's more power to them. You don't have to worry about raising that knife blade up on the skin side of 1/8 of an inch. But yeah, well, so we want to maybe that. early or that shallow bite, that's one thing. And it's dependable starting pretty close to about right mid-April. It's going to be beginning.
Yeah, it's going to be gangbusters.
Will it? Yes. Okay. So that's one thing. You can fish off the bank, or you can get out there and be sure you're in safe water, but you can fish out of a boat and do that too. Now, but that's a portion of a fishing trip, early morning thing usually. Mm-hmm. But jigging spoons or slabs, I'm going to guess that's going to be the lion's share of a lot of your fishing time. Is that right?
It will be.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had a 4-hour trip, the first 30 to 45 minutes we'll be casting at the bank, and after that we're going to be out there looking for them on the humps and in the draw. I guess underwater draw is what you'd call them. Looking for them, waiting to ambush the shad coming back from the bank, because they don't stay up there all day. They just can't. A lot of people, fish don't have eyelids, so they can't blink, and they can't wear sunglasses, so they can't get any protection from that bright sun. And the brighter it is, the deeper they move out into the deeper water.
Omar,
protect their own
Omar,
vision.
you mentioned sunglasses. Folks, I've got to bring this up because it's kind of comical, but it's very true. I'm the world's worst for losing sunglasses. Well, I had some $1.50 or whatever, I don't know, $2 sunshades from the dollar store. Omar joined us this year at the Outdoor Rendezvous in Greenville, which is it's just like a big reunion out there of friends. But we had a big time. So I've got these $1 or $2, I guess they are, sunshades on, and Omar's got some really good ones. And he says, I don't know how the subject came up, but I said, yeah, I got these. The lens are always falling out, and then I'll just get another pair. And you said, check these out, Luke. And you had some I want you to tell about those sunshades. You pull those out, and I put them on. It was like, like, whoa, is this the same world I'm looking at?
Exactly. They're Waterland sunglasses.
Waterland.
Waterland Fishing Optics. And if you go on any of my social media, you'll see a link to go order those glasses, and you can get 15% off of them. But they're a company that was started by professional bass fishermen. Mm-hmm. And so they're made by fishermen for fishermen. And they have multiple quality lenses. They have polycarbonate, and they also have mineral glass, which is mineral glass is expensive, but it is absolutely amazing. But so is the polycarbonate. They have the same coatings, and the coatings is what makes the difference on the water. So you'll have a blue mirror with the amber coating on the inside for deep water, and you have green mirror with the copper base for shallower water or fresh water, because it cuts through some of the glare and some of the plankton in the water. And just to wear sunglasses, they're extremely comfortable.
Yeah,
they're very
were.
light.
Yeah.
And they do the job that you need them to do, which is protect your eyes from UVB, UVA rays from the sun and reflection off the water. And then also, I was wearing a pair last year, and I had a sand bass coming in, a big sand bass on an 1.5 ounce slab, and it popped loose.
Ooh.
And that slab hit me right square in the left eye. And it popped around the hook. The hook hooked on the nose piece right between the two lenses. But if it hadn't been for that sunglasses, and you couldn't even see a scratch on them. That was the funny part, and they were polycarbonate.
Omar, tell me,
tougher than a lot of them.
Yeah, tell it real quick, the website for that. I want to check those. This will help a lot of people. What's their website or the name of it? I guess they probably.
It's Waterland Fishing Options. Okay. Hold on one second.
No. We can track that down. Waterland Fishing Options.
Fishing Optics.
Optics.
Yeah.
Okay.
They call it Optics.
We can track that down. Yeah,
they can go on there, and I think my discount code is Irish NTX.
Okay.
And
very good.
They're just awesome.
Awesome, buddy. So, well, thanks for the tips, and I want to throw. We've got time for one quick tip, folks. Be careful with your skin. Now, I'm fair complected, and Omar, I believe, pretty much is too, I think. Mm-hmm. But, so fair complected people, I've had basal cell little spots on my face removed in the past, 2 or 3 of them, which are not a problem. I have a deal that looked like, this is just to help people out. Keep your skin protected. Wear a big. I'm the world's worst for wearing a cap. Leave the cap at home and wear a brimmed hat when you're out there. I'm the world's worst for not doing what I'm asking you to do. But sunscreen, take the time to use it. I started wearing long sleeves. I hate to do that. But there's some clothing out there now that's not so bad, but it protects your skin. So anyway, watch that. Omar, tell folks how to reach you. Now, you guide all over the place, Tawakoni and Grapevine and
Louisville, Cedar Creek. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
you can call us at 817-937-8755. And, of course, we've got a website, luckoftheirish.net. Yep. And we're all over social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Yep. Luck of the Irish. Yes, sir. Luck the Irish.
You can look on any of those sites, and you'll also find that code for Waterland Fishing Optics.
Okay, buddy. Well, we are out of time.
And I need you to go look and get a pair ordered for those, and I'll take care of them for you.
Well, we got to have some. One way or another, I gotta have them. Okay, Omar, thanks a lot, buddy, and stay on the line. We'll visit a little bit more. Folks, I want to tell you about an awesome destination for camping, just a getaway place, some very good fishing up on the upper end of Lake Livingston. It's River Rat Resort. You can go online to riverratresort.com. Check it all out. It's an awesome website there, but there's RV sites for RVs. There's tent camping right on the river, cabins there. It is a beautiful park. And I fished down in that area for many, many years. I probably first started fishing there 30 years ago. But you can fish the river. Lake Livingston is a well-known fishing lake. If you don't like to fish, which I bet you do, but if you don't, it's a great place just to get away from the hustle bustle of the big city. You can call 936-277-5495. That's 936-277-5495 and make reservations. But first, go online there to riverratresort.com. Check it out. I want to tell you about a one-stop shop for everything related to game feeders and fish feeders, Ultrimatic Feeders. I've been using components and feeders from Ultrimatic Feeders for 20-something years, I guess. They have the remote, which you can remotely activate your feeder with, the timer, which is the most simple timer that I've ever found on a game feeder. And then the eliminator. Check these out. They are worked on centrifugal force, and they seal off the corn supply so coons and squirrels can't get to the corn. Check them out. Ultrimatic Feeders, you could go online to ultrimaticfeeders.com. Folks, let's talk a little outdoor cooking. Let me tell you about an electric smoker that I've been using for 15 years, I guess. Smokin Tex electric smokers. If you're tired of staying up all night keeping that wood fire burning when you're barbecuing, give Smokin Tex a try. They're made to last a lifetime. You can check them out at smokintex.com. That's SMOKINTEX.com. For seasonings, anything to do with outdoor cooking, all kind of jerky seasonings, sausage seasonings, Butcher Packer Supply. That's butcherpackersupply.com. I think the website is butcher-packer.com. Friends, this segment is made possible by Platinum Cadillac and Chevrolet in Terrell, Texas. Stop by and visit with my buddy, Mr. Justin Rudd, and his team of experts, and let them put you in a new Chevy pickup or a Cadillac or whatever you might be in the market for. Also, the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma. Check them out at ChoctawHuntingLodge.com. Also made possible by Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Well, friends, coming up in the next segment, Mr. Larry Weishuhn, my buddy's going to be back with us, and we're going to share another comical story or two, things that's happened to us in the outdoors. People seem to enjoy this, and it's something that most people can relate to. All of us that's kicked around in the outdoors have had some comical things happen, I'm sure. But right now, I'm going to share some information with you. I'm all about having fun in the outdoors. That can be hunting or fishing or whatever I'm doing. I want it to be fun. Now, I'm going to tell you about a turkey hunt that I have planned. I'm not going to tell you who it's with. It's a longtime friend of mine, though, that's got some land in some very good turkey country. and I'm going to go up there and spend the day. And chances are good that I'll bag a gobbler. I might not. But I'll guarantee you my plan for the day is going to incorporate some fun for my buddy and I. So what I'm planning to do is get up there not at the break of day. Turkeys flying off their roost, the gobblers are usually with some hens anyway. Most of the good turkey hunting I've had is from, say, 9 to 2, after those gobblers have already been out there and bred the hens that they've roosted with. That's when things get really good. They get out looking for love in hopefully all the wrong places where old Luke's going to be. But here's my plan, and see if this sounds like fun to you. I'm going to take a couple of fishing rods. One of them's going to be rigged with a red rattle trap. The other one's going to be rigged with some Texas rig worms, probably plum color, old school, Texas rig. They're going to be in the back of my pickup. I'll have a hen decoy, all my turkey hunting gear, my box call, the shotgun. I'm using a Mossberg 940 little auto that's loaded up with some heavy number 4 shot. Have that. I'll have my camouflage. I'll be ready to go. So we're going to have that in the truck. I'm also going to have it's a little rocket stove. I think it's called an eco stove, but it is a cooking machine. This is not a commercial. It's just something I ordered off of Amazon that I really love. It burns with little twigs. You can just scratch up some twigs, and it's like it's a rocket stove, so it's like a volcano blowing up through that stove. That is going to be packed. You probably think, well, what's Luke carrying? Fishing rods, plastic worms, rattle traps, an eco stove, a rocket stove on a turkey. What's his plan? I'm going to tell you what my plan is. So I'm going to get up there, and there's a road that goes from the front all the way to the back of my buddy's property. It's about 75 acres and good turkey country. I'm going to just get out there, park my truck so I don't disturb anything, and just slowly walk down that old trail back to the back of the property, stopping about every 75 yards and put out some loud hen yelps. Now, I may or may not get a response from a gobbler. If I do, I know where he's at. I'll set up, put my decoy out, get hid back in the brush. I use a little, it's a burlap camo. You can get it at Walmart or anywhere. And I'll get back in the brush, and I'll put that camo out in front of me a little bit, and I'll just sit there and wait. And I'll wait for at least an hour for that bird to come in. He may come in hot. He may come in gobbling every 50 yards, or he may sneak in. But I'm going to give it a try. I know where the turkey is, and he knows where I am. So that's plan 1. Now, if I don't get any gobbling response, I'm going to go back to the back of this property where my buddies told me, and there's some feeder back there. Turkeys they're going to walk the path to that feeder one time or another during the morning, midday probably. I'm going to set up, not right on the feeder, but I know that it's going to be a focal point for those turkeys. I'm going to set up maybe 50, 75 yards away with the decoy, get concealed really well, and I'm going to stay put. 75 acres, those turkeys they can hear really well, almost as well as they can see, so they can pinpoint where I'm at. I'll stay right there. Now, I'll stay there until about 1 o'clock, and then hopefully we'll have a gobbler bagged by then. If not, no big deal. I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to try my best. If not, we go into plan B. I call my buddy. He comes down, and there is where plan B with the fishing takes place. We go over. He's got a pond that's got a lot of bass. No big ones, he says, but a lot of 2 to 3 pound bass. And maybe too many of them. So our plan is to remove about 4 or 5 of those bass. And I've got my fillet knife with me. I've got an ice chest with some potato salad in it. I've got paper plates. I've got fuel to start that little rocket stove. I've got a skillet, cooking oil. I've already got some meal, some cornmeal and some flour mixture for frying fish. So guess what's going to happen about 1 o'clock if things go according to plans, which we're going to make them go according to plans. We are going to have maybe a 30, 45-minute fishing trip, catch about 3 or 4 of those bass, Got some fresh water to rinse the fillets with. I got a little cutting board, a very sharp fillet knife. We're going to turn those fish into some fillets. Should have I don't think I've forgotten anything. Plenty of cooking oil there in the skillet. I'm going to fire that little rocket stove up on the banks of this pond back in the woods, and we're going to have us a fish fry that's going to consist of very fresh bass fillets. Yes, I did say bass. These fish need to be thinned some in a private pond. Largemouth bass fillets on smaller fish, folks. They are good eating. So that we're going to have that, some potato salad. Oh, and I forgot, I've got a can of baked beans. We're going to heat those up on that rocket stove. I've got the paper plates. We're going to sit down and crunch some good fish fillets, eat some potato salad and beans, and maybe lay out like an old turtle, relax a little bit there until about, I don't know, 2:30. Then it'll be time, if I did not kill a turkey, to go into plan 3, or C, we'll call it. Back in the woods, my buddy can go back, kick back at his house, whatever he wants to do. And then I'm going to be back in the woods until, before dark. I'll probably hunt till about 6:30 or 7, and then I'll load up and come back home. So that's one of the things. That's going to be fun. Think about it. If I don't kill a turkey, I may or may not, probably will. But if I don't, we've got fishing. We're going to catch some fish in that stock pond. It's going to happen, and we're going to have a fish fry. So what a day in the outdoors. Now, here's another quick tip, something I'm doing close to home that may help some of you. I absolutely love to hunt hogs, and I hunt them one at a time. I'm not out running hogs with an AR. That's okay. That's what you do. That's not what I do. I don't like to be shooting long distance at night. I've got a thermal, and I've got a 6.5 PRC, all kind of, centerfire rifles. But I hunt hogs at home within probably a quarter mile of my house. I've got some hogs coming in every night. I don't see them on trail camera. I load my Seneca Dragonclaw, which is a 50 caliber PCP air gun, and it's quite capable of killing a hog at 50 yards. I've killed a bunch of them with it. I keep this place baited up. Those hogs are coming after dark, who knows, usually 30, 45 minutes after dark, they're hitting this corn. So how did I there's one spot that I wanted to hunt, and it's an area in the middle of about, 50 acres, heavily wooded. I wanted to be in the middle of that property, so there's homes on the perimeter, not close, but nearby. I did not want to be shooting to disturb anybody, or I wanted to keep it safe, put it that way. So I found a spot, tree limb hanging down an old oak, and I've got a feeder hanging up on there. I've got the timer, and the Ultrimatic feeder makes them, and I've been using these for years. The remote, I've got it all set up, and so I've got the feeder hanging up back in there. And how do I get hogs to that spot? That's what I want to concentrate on for a second. So I could have just put out corn, and sooner or later they would have come. But I found some hot hog trails, 2 of them, where they went under a fence, and they probably travel this route every night. I trickle corn for about 100 yards up to this. 2 nights later, hogs were on my corn. Once they found it, they're coming back every night. It's just a matter of when. So there's another tip for you. I can put hogs in my back pocket, not bragging, and you can too. That's the way to do it. Find their travel routes. And you may not want to hunt right on their travel route. There might be a spot for some reason. My reason is safety. I want to be back in the woods there, away from any homes in the middle of that land, and that's where I want to hunt them. So you can do that and just trickle. It doesn't take much corn, but just make a trail from that heavily used trail that they run. Trickle it right up to where you want to put those hogs. And now I can't guarantee for sure they're going to come in 30 minutes after dark, but I set a limit. I'll stay till 10. Then I'm out of there. I'm not going to stay up till 2 in the morning waiting on the hogs, but chances my camera's showing them coming up right after dark. So 2 fun things, a turkey hunt and a hog hunt right here close to home. Folks, the next segment here, we'll take a little quick break, but the next segment is going to be Mr. Weishuhn telling you a funny story or two. So stick with us. For about the past decade, I've been hunting editor for Airgun Hobbyist magazine. I think the only magazine devoted strictly to airgun shooting and hunting in the country. Well, in that length of time, I've learned quite a bit about big bore air guns and smaller calibers too. A spot to go to that if you're interested in air guns, you need to know about Pyramyd Air. The website is PYRAMYD, PyramydAir.com. They have anything and everything you need, from the guns themselves, the big bores or the smaller calibers, to the accessories. Just remember PyramydAir.com, and there's a number when you get on the website if you need to call and talk to somebody. Give them a buzz, and they can fill you in on little details that you might need to know about shooting or hunting with big bore air guns. While you're on the website there, I'd like you to check out the big bore air gun that I've done a great deal of hunting with. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw 50 caliber, pressures up to 3,000 psi, and it looks like a conventional rifle. Wooden stock. I think you'll like the appearance, and I know you'll like the performance. It shoots not only bullets, but also air bolts as well, tipped with a broadhead. Check it out. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw.
The snowflakes fall as winter comes, and time just seems to fly.
Friends, this segment is brought to us by CVA Muzzleloaders. In my opinion, the very best muzzleloaders in the world, the ones that I shoot. You can check them out online, CVA.com. AGM Global Vision, maker of the Rattler and the Adder that I use, you can check them out online too, agmglobalvision.com. Kuby's Wild Game Processing and Kuby's Restaurant in Dallas, and VINEYARDMAX, maker of some awesome deer attractant and some very fine game feeders and fish feeders, located down in Nacogdoches, Texas. Check them out at vineyardmax.net. Well, folks, we are back with Mr. Larry Weishuhn, like I promised, and Larry's got a very comical story to share with you here in just a little bit. But I wanted to talk, Larry. First off, thanks for hanging in there and being back with us.
Oh, heavens, yes.
Yeah. But I was going to wrap up our talk about Montague County up with Don Gresham up on that ranch. How about that camp house, man? I mean, just an awesome camp house that we're going to get to stay in.
I love that camp. I have to tell you about one of the camps I was in Mexico years ago. We were on a lease down there, and did not look at the camp. When we got down there, we looked at the property. We got down to the camp. It was an old burned out house. And so we ended up spending like a week at the coldest time they'd had down there with the norther blowing in, rained the entire time, blew about 20 to 30 miles an hour. And that was a blessing, because the only thing that we had to protect us from the weather, the north wall was still there. So we put our cots and our bedrolls right against that north wall, and it would blow the rain across the top of us, to keep us from getting wet. But there's also a donkey there that decided that he needed to be at the same place. So all during the night, that donkey push up against you where you had a sleeping bag. It turned out to be a total disaster in a lot of different ways. Great memories. But as we were looking at Don's camp, all that came back to me. I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is absolutely fabulous compared to some of the camps that I've been in the past.
Oh man, I know I've been in some. What you looking back, it was all exciting because there's a chance to get a big deer or whatever, but it's kind of uncomfortable. I remember one time, Larry, me and another old boy, old Larry Large, outfitted elk and bear hunts.
Oh yes,
for about 6 or 7 years up there in north of Steamboat Springs. I never will forget. We were camped. We had individual tents, and then the hunters, our clients, stayed in a cabin. Well, I let them have the cabin. We all liked it anyway. We had a little tent camp set up. That was probably about 9 years ago, or 10 maybe. But it flooded up there. I'm talking about a flood. I never realized that mountain country could flood like that. But we weren't. Our camp was in the down in the foothills, you might say, and then up to Sleeping Giant Mountain was up maybe, 10,000 feet, something like that, 11,000. But it started raining, and it actually rained our hunt out for 2 days. I mean, you couldn't get there if you wanted to. Those canyons, I mean, those valleys were running water, and that we were in these tents, and it's hard to keep. These weren't your wall tents. These were tents more suited for camping at Ray Roberts or something here in Texas, you know. And that tents, everything got wet, and then finally we moved them twice. First we moved them up a high ground, and thought, sure, and you look down there, it looked like a river. I'm telling you, like a current. Yes, this happened. And then we finally moved them up on top of the hill out there. But the water receded about as quick as it came, and we made it out of there. But I don't know why I thought of that, but just camping with a hunt, you can get in some uncomfortable things. You can. But
that camp's not going to be that way.
No,
I was really impressed, and I love the fire pit outside.
Yeah.
I could as we were standing there looking, I could see it in the darkness, you know, with the fire going and the stories being told around it, kind of thing.
We're going to enjoy some good meals, you and I, and Jeff Rice. We'll get up there, and we'll have time to get up there a few times. Larry, you know, you've got a quick tale to tell about, I don't know how many years ago it was, with you and I.
You know what? You're right.
I'll set the stage for it, but so Larry and I we got incarcerated in a hunting blind one time together, and I remember that just like yesterday.
Yeah, I was thinking about, we were talking about blinds earlier in the show, and I'm thinking about different hunting blinds I was in, and I didn't say anything at the time, but then I got thinking about it. You know, we truly got incarcerated in a deer blind there out close to Fairfield.
Yeah.
We crawled up there and both deer hunting, you know, wasn't a whole lot going on, so I was blowing a varmint call, and nothing came in, and we got ready to get out of that deer blind, and it was like somebody slipped up there and locked the door on us. You know,
the hasp, yeah.
And what it was was one of those things where there was a hasp, what we would call a hasp kind of thing, you know, where this little thing fits through a slot. Well, somehow or another, when we closed the door, with the wind, it just kind of jiggled, I guess, and finally turned that to where we were locked in that deer blind. And, you know, it was probably about 12, 15 feet off the ground. So there wasn't any way that we could crawl out the windows. They weren't quite big enough. And we were kind of wondering there for a long time, is after trying everything that we had up to that point, going, well, hopefully, you know, some of the other folks know where we are, and eventually they'll come look for us if we don't get out of here. But oh my goodness, it finally came down to I carry shooting sticks everywhere I go, even when I'm sitting in a blind, because a lot of times it helps me. You know, you got a place to rest your forend, but on a window. But yeah, this gives me a place to rest my elbows and to really kind of almost like shooting off a sandbag. But finally, through a whole bunch of kind of leading way out this one side, kind of reaching around the other side, and messing around with those shooting sticks, which were kind of like almost like a scissors at the end, where I could kind of pinch it down. I was finally able to turn that half to where we were able to get out of there, but this took forever to do that. I mean, it wasn't one of those things to where, let's do this.
No,
you know, we were at wit's end at that point, and finally we're able to get out. To this day, every time I walk by a deer blind, the one thing I remember is getting locked in a deer blind with Luke Clayton.
Yeah, it was funny. That hasp, and I had no idea it fell. Gravity. It was in a vertical position that the hasp. When it shut the blind, it fell, and it fell where it locked. I mean, but we could, you know, the truth is it was a nice blind, and we could have come out of there, but we'd have tore the blind up. You know, I mean, we didn't want to do that. You know,
no.
But anyway, that was so funny. One of those things that I sat in there and I thought, you know, heck, here, me and Mr. Whitetail locked in a cotton picking blind together, and I was kind of, I don't know. We you and I both were kind of guiding. Randall Pence with Ruger was there.
Yes,
and
yes.
it was a great hunt down in
oh my gosh,
near Free. Fairfield's near Fairfield, big old ranch down there. Yeah, well, people that like us that's kicked around the outdoors so many years, you could go on and on and on. I could, and you could, and probably a lot of our friends listening,
yes,
and
sir.
just relate things that that's happened through the years. It's crazy, and a lot of the crazy things that's happened to me, funny looking back, was on turkey hunts. It seems to me that I've written in my columns and stuff many times that no two turkey hunts are the same. They're just
You're
not.
right.
They're not. There's so many variables when you're turkey hunting, and I've had some crazy things happen. And one time, I probably told you, I know Randy Douglas has told you this, and I think we've talked about it here, but I was hunting on the Dale River Ranch where our friend Randy Douglas was the manager of that ranch, and the gobblers weren't real vocal that morning, and I was turkey hunting was getting a little tough, really, and I was actually in a pop-up blind up on the top of a hill, and I was making some loud calls with my box call, and not a gobble anywhere. I mean, no gobble, and I've been there for I don't know, a couple of hours in this blind. Had a shotgun, and I'm calling, and all of a sudden I didn't hear a gobble, but I heard a turkey just sounding like a turkey. You know how they, just turkey talk. They're right close to me, and I thought, whoa, wait a minute, and I peeped. I was facing the front, and the bird was behind me, and there was a cedar tree behind me. My open shots were in the front, out front of that blind, and I'm sitting there with that, barrel, about a 28-inch barrel on that shotgun, and I had it loaded up with some heavy loads, and I thought, okay, well, what am I going to do? So I thought maybe I can lean toward the front of this blind and call, and some soft yelps and purrs, and maybe that gobbler will come around, and then I can shoot him.
Right.
This turkey was like 10 feet from me. He was right, big old gobbler. And I was peeping through that. I think we talked about this recently. But anyway, I said, he would not move. I would make those little hen sounds, and he would sound off so loud. And anyway, I swung that shotgun barrel around. I could see his head come up. I knew he was getting nervous, And I found what I thought was a little hole, and boom, And Randy, we could go back and find that cedar tree if it's still alive. Half of the trunk was blown off because I hit because he started moving, and I moved that barrel to track him. Boom. And it was worth it not to kill the turkey to have that humorous. We went back there every time. He's even shown other people. Look where Luke shot. He was shooting at a turkey here. Larry, we're about out of time. I hope our friends enjoy some of our recounts of old times and tales that we've got. We'll share more of them. I've had some people comment. They say, it's not you guys don't do a news show, and I tell them, I said the truth is, you can get all the news you want if you're in Texas Parks and Wildlife, or Arkansas. Go to their websites, the game departments, or the Fish and Wildlife. But no, we're all about fun here and knowledge. I've also had people say, we have a good time listening to you guys, but we also pick up a tip or two. How could they not? After just what the basis that we cover, Larry.
Well, you're right. If nothing else, they'll learn what not to do.
That's right. That's right. Because we tell it like it was, or like
yes, sir.
Well, thank you, Larry, for being with us, and next week we'll get back here and have some more fun with everybody.
I can hardly wait, Luke.
Folks, that about wraps our show up for this week. I've enjoyed being with you, and I hope you've had a good time, too. And, folks, we're also brought to you by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, located about, 45 minutes west of Hugo, Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. It's about 45,000 acres of awesome mountain, country, hills, valleys, loaded with game. Lots of eastern turkey, and they do eastern turkey hunts if you're looking for a spot to hunt turkey in the spring. Also, I want to remind you about the Seneca 50 caliber
Dragon Claw that shoots bullets and pellets. And by pellets, I'm talking about 200 and 210 grain lead, chunks of lead. It's a big bore air gun that I use. Check out the Seneca Dragon Claw there at PyramydAir.com.